TwelveTen360.
Hello everyone, this is Monique LeClair with TwelveTen360 and 1210 Magazine. I am here with the very talented Tony Tarantino, actor and filmmaker. Tony, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us.
Well, thank you. Pleasure to be with you.
I understand that you have been in the business many, many years. You're originally from New York, but you came to LA at a young age. And tell us a little bit about your early inspirations. I understand your father was an actor as well.
Right. My dad was my all inspiration. When I was a kid, other kids had Superman, Batman, Roy Rogers, Gene Autry was their heroes. Mm-hmm. My hero was my dad. Mm-hmm. He was a Marine during World War II. He served in Guadalcanal and Iwo Jima. Mm-hmm. And when he came home from the war, they had a big parade in New York, and there were a bunch of Marine officers in our house. Mm-hmm. And they were telling my dad what he had to do. He was going to sit on the back of this limo. Mm-hmm. And me at 5 years old, I'm tugging on his trousers saying, "Hey, Daddy, Daddy, can I go with you?" Mm-hmm. And he looked at the officers, and one officer shook his head no. And my dad looked at him and said, "Sir, I'm a civilian now. I don't have to take orders. My son goes or I don't."
Wow.
So with that, they let me go. He picked me up, put me on his shoulder, sat on the back of that limo, and we drove down the 6th Street Parade in New York.
Wow.
I never got over that. He was an actor. He was an actor in the early 30s, long before he even met my mom.
Wow.
He did nothing but those old westerns, Buck Jones, Jim McCoy, Tom Mix. I have a picture of him on Tom Mix's horse showing.
Oh, wow.
And I had to be an actor.
He was a huge supporter of you while you were a member of the Pasadena Playhouse, right?
Yeah.
With Dustin Hoffman?
Right.
Your dad came and saw you and supported you. And
That's great. He was, everything I did, he always was there. Whether it was sports, music, acting, he was always there.
Wonderful. So your first movie was Where the Boys Are.
Right.
It came out in 1960, I believe.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
So you did a little bit of acting. What inspired you to become a filmmaker and to start directing and to go more behind the scenes with movies?
Well, as you get older, it starts getting harder to get good meaty parts unless you're already a big A-list actor. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't. I never was. I was just always there. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that excited me. I never cared about fame, about the money or anything. I just cared about being there and having a good time.
Yeah.
So when I started getting older and meaty parts started to come hard to get by, I decided to start writing my own screenplay. I said, okay, I could write myself a part in. Yeah. And that's what I've done. And so if I wrote it, I always wanted to direct it.
Wonderful.
So that's what moved me into those areas.
Wonderful. That's very honorable. So let's talk a little bit about your new movie that's coming out. The release date for Prism is December 25th, Christmas Day.
That's correct.
This year. With the media, with news, there's just so much talk about police brutality, but we never hear the other side,
And that's a shame, because the other side is even bigger and more important, and most people don't realize it. The media dwells on bad news. That sells. All right, flowery stories, good stories, they're not that interesting. They don't sell. So you don't see it every time a police officer, just like the other day, runs his car into an oncoming vehicle going the wrong way to save a woman's life. Yeah. And many other things that officers throughout the country have done, saving somebody's life or helping a kid or something like that, but you don't really hear about it.
You don't hear about that.
And, that kind of upset me. But more than that, it was my son Quentin. When he came out on October talking negative about cops, saying all cops are killers, that just got to me, irritated the hell out of me. Because in my own family, in New York, I have 4 cousins that were NYPD. 2 on my father's side, one a lieutenant horseback cop, Johnny Massaro, and one a lieutenant detective, Anthony Massaro. They both made it to retirement and had good lives. Wow. Then 2 on my mother's side, Daniel Greer, was killed on duty.
Wow.
And then
So sorry.
Frank Gucciardi, during a riot, had his back broken 3 places and is a paraplegic to this day. Now, I saw these people, these families, these kids, how they grew up, and it is so worse than a divorce. In a divorce, a kid gets to at least know both parents. Sometimes they'll take one side or the other. But in a situation like this, they never get that. They never really got to know the dad when they were only 4 or 5 years old when father was killed. And that memory doesn't leave them, it stays with them. And when I heard Quentin come out so negatively about police, I had to jump in and say something about it.
Absolutely. We forget that police officers, however the outcome may be, they're trained to defend themselves and to protect.
And in my opinion, they're not trained well enough in self-defense. I think that political correctness and the media hold them back far more so than they should.
Absolutely. I agree. So let's talk a little bit more about Prism. What inspired you to kind of bring to light the story of El Chapo Guzman and the Mexican drug cartel?
Well, what had happened, there's a novel titled Color of the Prism by Thomas J. Nichols. Tom's novel was doing really well. I believe he made bestseller list. And he called my agent and said, hey, he'd like to turn this into a screenplay. Would Tarantino care to write it? My agent gave me the information. I gave Tom Nichols a call. I said, send me the book. He overnighted it to me. I read it as soon as I got it, called him back and said, hey, I love your story. I said, I'd love to write the screenplay. So he flew out and we met. And then after an hour or so of just getting to know each other and general banter, I finally said to him, I said, okay, Tom, what's in your budget for writing the screenplay? And he said, $100,000. And I said, man, there's no way I couldn't do it for $100,000. And I went and explained why. The investigation, the travel, everything that I would have had to have done. And he said, hey, $100,000 is all we have. We don't have a penny more. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, Tom, I really like your book. I'd really like to write this screenplay. I'll give you $100,000. You give me the rights to the book.
You couldn't let it go.
Yeah, so
That's
I bought
good.
the rights to the book, wrote the screenplay. And the beautiful part about it is it's based on a true story. It's about an undercover detective that infiltrates the Sinaloa drug cartel headed by El Chapo Guzman. So the characters were real people. The events really did happen, say maybe with some creative liberty I might have taken to make it a little more interesting here and there.
Absolutely. Well, I saw the trailer and I've read about it. It looks very action-packed.
It is, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing it. And there's a little bit of documentary or news clips, authentic news clips from when all of this was actually going on in the beginning.
Right. I've taken everything from Fast and Furious to the shooting of Asian Charity.
Wow, nice. And I read somewhere that El Chapo Guzman actually had a hit out on Donald Trump. He's
He
running
does,
for
it's out there. He has a $100 million reward on Donald Trump, anybody that would take his life.
Wow.
And that's serious. In fact, there's just been recent news about it. Now they're giving Donald Secret Service protection at the different events and things that he goes to.
Absolutely. Well, so going back a little bit to the movie and you know, speaking of law enforcement, you have a huge following and a huge support from U.S. law enforcement for the movie Prism.
Right.
Should Donald Trump step up and support this film, how do you think that would affect him politically?
Well, for one, like you said, Prism is backed by every police authority across the nation. If you could only see all the emails and social media posts by officers and departments across the country, and all of them saying, we support you 100%. If Donald Trump got in and say he became executive producer on the film, and 10% of the net profits from the film are going to wounded or deceased officers or their families that are in need of it. That would make Donald Trump a big part of that, and he'd get that same support from 1 million police officers, their friends and family across the country. It would go a long way toward his political career.
Wow. Okay, I agree. Well, thank you for taking this time to talk to us, Mr. Tarantino. It was a pleasure and truly an honor. I look forward to seeing the movie. Is there anything that you'd like to share with 1210 Magazine?
I think you pretty well covered it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah,
and I look forward to your movie. Thank you.
Thank you.